enhancing New Mexico's healthcare ecosystem. New Mexico may be thought of as a healthcare desert, but CerraCap Ventures is looking to change that. In recent years, CerraCap has been evaluating and investing in healthcare companies as they work to move those companies to New Mexico. And this is really only the beginning. Here today to talk with us more about healthcare investing in New Mexico is managing partner at CerraCap Ventures, Saurabh Suri, as well as venture partner Mason Mehta. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Healthcare is such an important topic of conversation, especially as it pertains here in New Mexico. So let's just get things started. Question is for both of you. Can you just talk to me about why CerraCap is choosing to invest so heavily in healthcare, the importance of those investments?
Yeah, I think, look, for us, there's really three key reasons, right? One is that healthcare as an industry, despite any headwinds in the economy, continues to perform, right? That's number one. Number two is that, in the last several years in New Mexico in particular, there's been a 55% increase in the ambulatory workforce. And what that means is that those folks need to be supported by technology and innovation, and our portfolio companies can help to augment that and really bring that to those environments to enhance patient care and also access to care.
Absolutely. Is New Mexico, I have another question here. I'm just curious, is New Mexico primed to really be at the forefront of healthcare with these investments that you gentlemen are making?
I mean, New Mexico has a couple of things really going for it, right? So let's start with the first one, talent, right? New Mexico has the highest number of doctorates per capita in the US, right? Second of all, if you look at the base, it's 50% of its economy is services based in healthcare, and there is a huge services sector in the healthcare side. So you have the base and the requirement for it. And number three, you have the one of the lowest cost of living, which is critical in this age of innovation. So those three things is something that's really going for New Mexico as it continues to expand. On the flip side, there's some amazing companies that have started in New Mexico, but then left, right? Let's start with the third largest company in the world today, Microsoft, was founded in Albuquerque and left. Let's take a more recent example, and actually one of our older portfolio companies that started in Los Alamos, which is the world's largest database of the human microbiome, Biome. Oh, wow. Started here and then left, right? So companies do tend to leave because there hasn't been as much focus in building that ecosystem, because again, it takes a village to establish and grow these companies. And what we're trying to do, and Mason's really leading the charge on this, is spur that innovation ecosystem focused on healthcare being one of the most critical technologies in our opinion out there, right? Because we consider healthcare as one of the new fundamentals of the digital age. You talked about the original fundamentals, food, clothing, shelter. If you look at the new fundamentals, healthcare is a critical part of them. So imbibe and infuse that by actually help move companies and then spur the ecosystem around that and grow it from there.
How do we keep these companies here? What are we looking at as far as key things that we need to have that will not only move these companies here, but then when they're here, they stay?
Sure. No, I think that's a great question. Look, I think there's two key areas of focus, right? One is customer acquisition, right? Companies that come here and fly by night, part of their challenges is that they don't have local customer base to really support their ambitions here in the state, right? So that's critical, is getting them aligned with the local business community and establishing customer relationships and generating revenue in the state, right? That's number one. Number two is really the hiring and retention piece that we talked about a little bit earlier, right? I think it's really critical that we incentivize not only outsiders who come and enter the workforce here in New Mexico to stick around beyond the academia, but also that we provide them with the right platform and the right tools to sort of substantiate their own personal and professional growth right here in the state. And that means all the effects of lifestyle, access to career growth opportunities, so on and so forth.
So when they come here, they're kind of already set up for success.
That's right.
Right. And as I mentioned, it takes a village,
right,
to not just establish, but nurture and grow these companies, right? You need the right set of people to advise these CEOs while they grow, right? You need capital and capital infusion through investors and investment vehicles into it. And you need the government also to step up in terms of incentives to help these companies actually stay here and thrive. And that public-private partnership is critical. And another very critical need is really the media, right? The ability for the media to focus on these companies and focus on their needs as they grow and raise awareness around that. And that's why we are so happy you've had us on right over here.
It's always such a pleasure to get to sit down and talk with you guys, because you absolutely are doing incredible things here in our state that maybe people don't know of, like right up front. And I like that you brought up, public-private partnership and how that aspect can really help. How key is that in the realm of healthcare growth here in our state?
It's I don't think it can be understated on how key that is, right? Because it's the people of the state and the government of the state that not just has to make it welcoming, but make it sustainable over the long term, right? And that's where government focus, government incentives, and nimbleness, right? And you don't normally associate bureaucracy and nimbleness in the same thing, but that's really what makes it work. And we've seen it work in New Mexico, right? If you look at the aerospace programs that are working over here and really spurred a lot of the economy out there. Mason talked about the ambulatory jobs and the 50% increase. All of them were driven by public-private partnerships. And we just feel that there's a lot more that can and will be done over there.
Yeah, already seeing those tangible results and knowing that there is so much more that can be accomplished. Gentlemen, where can we go for more information to learn a little bit more about what CerraCap is doing here in our state?
Everything about us and CerraCap's on our website, which is www.cerracap.com, and we'd encourage everybody to go and have a look.
Absolutely. Saurabh, Mason, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A pleasure, absolutely.